Hello and Assalamu alaikum. I'm Mughira Jalil. Welcome to Narmis. So here's the question that's most relevant today. What's the point of being part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty if it doesn't actually protect you? This year, at the first session of the Conference on Disarmament held in March 2025, Pakistan once again brought this question to the forefront. Pakistan reminded that the world needs a legally binding international instrument on negative security assurances, and not just for diplomacy's sake, but because real lives and national survival are increasingly on the line. Let's clarify what negative security assurances actually are. Negative security assurances are promises by nuclear-armed states not to use or even threaten to use nuclear weapons against countries that don't have them. This idea came up during the Cold War, as non-nuclear countries grew more concerned about being targeted. To ease these fears, the UN General Assembly passed Resolution 2153A in 1966, asking the 18-nation Committee on Disarmament, now the Conference on Disarmament, to explore ways for nuclear-armed states to make such promises official. In 1968, when NPT being negotiated, there was a catch. Non-nuclear countries had to accept permanent non-nuclear status without receiving legally enforceable protection in return. Instead, the nuclear powers, the US, UK, France, China and Russia offered political declarations, not binding agreements. As you can imagine, this didn't exactly build confidence. Western powers, especially the US, UK and France, have long resisted binding negative security assurances. Their reasoning was that binding agreements could limit military flexibility and raise verification complexities. So they stick with their own unilateral declarations. Interestingly, Pakistan, well before it officially became a nuclear-armed state, was already advocating for binding negative security assurances. Since the 1960s, Islamabad pushed for legal guarantees, arguing that these are essential for global security, particularly when total nuclear disarmament remains a distant dream. Fast forward to the last decade, national security assurance are not some abstract idea. They're urgently relevant today. Take Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its ongoing war with Ukraine. Ukraine gave up its nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances, and look how that turned out. Or consider the Israeli-American strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Iran, a signatory to the NPT, now finds itself under direct threat by the nuclear-armed state, Israel, which by the way is not even a member of the NPT. Critics might say, well, these nuclear states haven't explicitly threatened to use nukes. But when President Putin talks about catastrophic consequences for Ukraine, or President Trump threatens far greater retaliation against Iran, the message is hard to miss. It's veiled nuclear coercion. And that brings us back to the negative security assurances. These implicit threats prove why we need credible, enforceable assurances, not just vague promises. Here's the deeper issue. The NPT is showing cracks. Iran is a textbook example. As a non-nuclear state, an NPT signatory, it should be protected under the treaty. But when Israel, a non-NPT nuclear state, launches attacks and the US, a recognized NPT nuclear power, joins in, the protection seems meaningless. This is not just an Iranian problem. Many non-nuclear weapon states are growing frustrated. Frustrated with how the NPT is being used not as a shield but as a tool for geopolitical power plays. And now they're looking elsewhere. One major shift is growing support for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW. In fact, some countries are going even further. They're questioning whether staying non-nuclear is even viable anymore. Take South Korea, for example. Seoul is now seeing slow but noticeable rise in voices calling for its own nuclear capability. The logic is simple. If you're not protected by the treaties and you are targeted anyway, why not develop your own deterrent? Now, after the latest US surgical strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities, all eyes are on Tehran. Will Iran retaliate militarily? Possibly. But the greater concern is whether it will withdraw from the NPT altogether. a move the treaty actually allows if the national interests are seen as threatened. Iran's Parliamentary Committee on National Security is already pushing for it. And if Tehran gives notice, it has 90 days before officially exiting. That's a window it might use for diplomatic leverage, much like North Korea once did. And let's be honest, no one is bombing North Korea now. The problem is bigger than just one treaty. The NPT, once a cornerstone of global non-proliferation, has in many eyes become a tool for selective enforcement. Instead of ensuring equal rights to peaceful nuclear energy, it's being used to justify aggressive actions against compliant states. So what does it all mean? It means the world needs to rethink its non-proliferation goals. We need to finalize a legally binding agreement on negative security assurances. One that's universal, credible, and non-discriminatory. If the West, particularly the US, is serious about non-proliferation, it has to lead by example. Otherwise, non-nuclear weapon states may continue to draw lessons from recent crises, such as the Russia-Ukraine war or the US-Israeli strikes on Iran, concluding that possessing nuclear weapons offer the ultimate form of strategic defense, making external security assurances from major powers unnecessary. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, stay safe and stay kind. Allah Hafiz.